If you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, chances are you would have noticed that narcissists tend to feel comfortable around people that they can control. And you probably would have noticed that they would have wanted and probably would have succeeded in having control over you at least most of the time. And in order to control people, they need to keep the people, or at least most people who, they want to control, they need to keep the people somewhat confused because in a state of confusion, you're more submissive and you're less likely to challenge people. And you're less likely to challenge what they're saying or the instructions they give you. You just follow suit because it's easier. So narcissists are so much about controlling their surroundings, you, the target, their partner, and also other people as well. And if they feel they have no control over somebody, chances are they don't want to spend too much time around that person because there's too much of a risk of that person destabilizing the narcissist. And narcissists don't like that. But in order to control, like I said, to control, it's a lot easier if you keep people off balance, if you keep people somewhat confused. In order to keep the person off balance, what narcissists do is they keep the target in that state of cognitive dissonance most of the time. And cognitive dissonance creates a situation of mental confusion where your mind tries really hard to make sense of a certain reality, but it struggles to do so. And if you go back to the basics of what cognitive dissonance means, it basically means that if you just kind of keep it simple and think about it as if you were to receive two conflicting pieces of information, two pieces of information that are conflictive, but they're both true at the same time. When you're trying to make sense out of that, it doesn't really work, and your brain processes at a high capacity trying to make sense out of that reality, and it doesn't really succeed. An example of that is if the narcissist constantly tells you how much they care about you, how much they need you, how much they can't make it without you. But then sometimes they might pull off a disappearing act for a week where they don't get in touch with you. Or they might stonewall you for a few days. Or they might forget a dinner you had planned at a restaurant and kept you hanging. The fact that they say they care about you so much they can't make it without you, you're everything to them, but their actions show the complete opposite. That induces cognitive dissonance because you're trying to reconcile two conflicting pieces of information where circumstances suggest they're both true, but in your mind you can't make them both true because they conflict. Other examples are if the narcissist says that they're closer to their mother, say, than anyone else in the world, that their mother matters more to them than anybody. But let's say they never visit their mother, they never answer the mother's phone calls or text messages, they forget their birthday, and let's say they spend all their time with maybe two or three close friends who they say they don't care so much about. So they're saying that's another example of cognitive dissonance where the person who they care so much about, being a parent, they never think of the person, they never visit the person, they never give that person any attention, they ignore them. Whereas maybe some friends who they say they don't care about, they spend all their time with those friends. Just that conflicting information between what they're telling you as the truth, and they come across in such a way where you believe them, but then the evidence suggests the contrary. And those are just simple examples. But when narcissists are, when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, they induce cognitive dissonance on so many levels where unless you're aware of the disorder, you don't really know what's happening. And that's the tricky bit. That's where you get caught out. You're constantly in a state of confusion. And when you're in a state of confusion, you question your own sanity sometimes. Maybe not in the first few days, weeks, or months, but after years or decades, some people, spend most of their life with a narcissist. Decades. Yes, they question their sanity. They question the sanity of humanity. It drives you insane. if you stay with a narcissist that long. But cognitive dissonance, whether you realize it or not, you're constantly on edge because you're not making sense of things. But it's because you cannot make sense of two conflicting pieces of information. Just confusion. It's just an ongoing state of confusion. The thing is, narcissists don't want you to have a clear mind. They don't want you to be in a state of clarity. Because when you're in a state of clarity, you're more likely to see through them as somebody who's not healthy and somebody who just doesn't have the, the screws in the right place in their head. It's just something doesn't click. And also, if you have more clarity, you're more likely to come to your senses and think you deserve more than them. You might start seeing your self-worth. This is your clarity, which is good for you, is a threat to them. Your confusion, which is unhealthy for you, is good for them. So they want you to be confused, and creating cognitive dissonance in you is one of the best tools they have to achieve that. And once they have you that state of confusion, you're much more susceptible to them. They can control you more easily. Of course, sometimes narcissists, the target of narcissists, they end up rebelling against the narcissist and leaving. You can't keep somebody submissive forever if you're the narcissist, but oftentimes you can keep it going for a long time, and sometimes you can keep it going for a lifetime. There are many cases where narcissists have a lifelong kind of spouse who just sticks around with them for forever. Oftentimes the spouse becomes too weak over the decades of having spent with a narcissist, and they just can't be bothered to leave because they don't know where to start. They know nothing else anymore. Their life is one of confusion, and they've just kind of resigned themselves to that. It happens. So yeah, cognitive dissonance is one of you can call it a manipulative tool, but what it really is they're causing you to enter this state, a certain state of mind, where your mental faculties are not working exactly in the way they should. And you just find yourself doubting yourself more. You find yourself having to rely more on the narcissist because, by comparison, they seem like the more clear-minded person because they keep you confused. And all that comes with that. Ultimately, they have more control over you.